Hi, I'm Peter Capaldi. I play the Doctor, and you're watching EMS Productions.
Hello everybody and welcome to today's video. Now, as I'm sure you're aware, today is the 26th of March 2017, which is of course exactly 12 years since the first episode of New Who, Rose, aired. So I thought, why not go back a little bit, and I thought I would try and recall my memories of watching Rose those 12 years ago. Now of course this was 12 years ago and I was 7 years old, so it's a little bit difficult to remember the exact specifics of what was happening when I saw this first episode. But I can say with a fair amount of certainty this was the first ever episode of Doctor Who that I watched, so it is my earliest memory of watching Doctor Who back as it aired that first day. I can just remember, not quite sure what I was doing beforehand, but I ended up going into my mum's room. She had a little tiny TV, probably like 15-inch screen TV in her room, and she was watching Rose, the first ever episode. I had never really heard of Doctor Who before, I don't think, and I just randomly stumbled across it. I think my mum said something like, oh, why don't you sit and watch it for a bit, you might like this kind of thing. And I'm fairly certain this was at the point in the episode where the Doctors and Rose have come out of Rose's flat, just before the whole turn of the earth speech that the Doctor does. I think it was around that point where I sort of came in and started watching it from. Because I always have a sort of thought that it was many years later before I actually ever watched the very beginning of Rose, because I didn't see it on first airing and it was back in the days when there wasn't so many repeats and everything. And I think I never really got the DVD for the first episode, so I think that was that. And then so I went in and I think, yeah, my mum said, oh, why don't you watch it for a bit? And then I think I was just sat on the edge of my bed in front of that TV with my mum watching it. And the next half an hour I was completely fixed in that spot on the side of my bed, just staring at the TV, loving it as far as I can remember. I'm fairly certain I did not move away from that spot for the next half an hour. And from that moment I was completely hooked. It just took that half an hour of Rose to completely hook me on the show from in that moment, which was just... It's just such a brilliant episode. I mean, obviously Rose in general has a huge amount of nostalgia around. For anybody who watched it when it aired, or it was their first Doctor Who episode, there is a huge amount of nostalgia, which clearly elevates the episode a little bit. But it is still a brilliant way of starting the show new, but not new, because it had already been going on for 25 years before that. But Russell did such a brilliant job of bringing it back and not making the mistakes that the TV movie made of trying to chuck everything into the first episode. He so perfectly plotted that first series, introducing little elements. Initially it's just this mysterious figure called the Doctor with a big blue box in the TARDIS, and that's about all we got. Then through the series we got introduced to stuff like the Daleks and the Time Lords, and all these various other sort of big things that are part of Doctor Who, but we did it very gradually, and obviously had the sort of present day story to start, then go to the far future, then go back to the past, then have another present day story, then introduce Daleks, then have a sort of past time travel style story about what happens if you try to change the past. And just, yeah, through the series it's just so brilliantly worked, and I really just had this vivid memory of sitting next to my mum and watching this little tiny TV in her room, watching the sort of last 30 minutes of Rose, and just getting instantly hooked on the show. And although I don't really have pretty much any recollection of the rest of the series, I'm fairly certain that I did watch every single episode of the series. About the only thing I can remember is during The Empty Child, when the old bloke, the doctor bloke with the white sort of coat in the hospital, starts having his face turning into the gas mask. I can just remember my mum covering my little brother's eyes to stop him from seeing that, because he's like 5 years old, so I think that probably would have terrified him if he'd... I mean, I was only 7, but it was, for a 5-year-old or something, it would have been pretty terrifying seeing some old dude suddenly have massive sort of gas mask eyes bulging out of his face and a gas mask forming on his mouth and stuff. It was pretty creepy stuff when you're really that young, so I think that is the other vivid memory I have of the first series in general. And while I was on the topic of remembering things, I might as well give you a few more little early memories of Doctor Who that I have. I can still vividly remember the Christmas special from 2005, the Christmas Invasion. I was around at my grandparents' house watching the episode with like the whole family. Like, I think there was like 10 of us or so sat around the TV watching it that day, because it was so brilliant at the time, and obviously I was obsessed with it anyway, and so was my brother quite a bit, I think. And everybody just... It really captured the public imagination, I think, a lot more straight away. Obviously it's all waned a bit over the years, but initially that first series and sort of up the David Tennant era, it really was just so massively mainstream popular that everybody was kind of aware of it, and even if they weren't watching it, you still knew, oh, Doctor Who's on at the moment, because it was just such a huge phenomenon. Back in 2005, 6, 7 time, it was quite remarkable how sort of popular it instantly became. And I can still remember just after as the end of the Christmas special, as the credits roll and the trailer for series 2 comes up, I can remember somebody changed the channel over and I was like, no, quick, change it back, there's a trailer, there's Cybermen, there's a new series, please put it back on. And I missed about like half of that trailer and I was just like, no, why have I missed out on this trailer, like the only trailer I'm going to get for series 2, because we didn't have, like, we had a terrible computer and stuff, so we couldn't really watch the internet or anything back then, so it was literally just what we got lucky to see on TV. So I was like, how could I miss that trailer for series 2? I've waited 6 months for this episode and there's a trailer for the next series and I've missed it. I can remember myself being a bit annoyed about that, but that's what happens. And well, just a couple of other quick thoughts and memories that I have. I remember from series 2. Series 2 was very much when it kicked off. I remember sort of in my school, and while lots of my friends at school were talking about it as well, and we ended up talking to each other about it, particularly with series 2 and the Sarah Jane Adventures the following, I think it must have been the following year. Yeah, early 2007. I can sort of really strongly remember kind of every day after, or every sort of Monday morning, chatting about, oh, did you see Doctor Who? Did you see the Sarah Jane Adventures? What did you think about it all, kind of thing? I just really remember that excitement there was as a kid, as an 8-year-old kid back then, of being able to watch of this show that was sort of magical show with time travel and this magical character, the Doctor and Rose and everything. It was just, I just remember so much excitement around people my sort of age back then, sort of 7, 8, 9 years old. It was just, it was such a good time then. Obviously a lot of it is a bit of nostalgia. I mean, I watched series 1 and 2, even though series 2 isn't that strong a series probably if you watched it today. Still, there's a fair amount of nostalgia which just makes me like the series a bit more. I think that's an element for everybody. When your first sort of memories from a long time ago, naturally stuff becomes even better in your memories. It can never be as good sort of as what your memory says it is. So if like you watched something 10 years ago, you always thought it was amazing, then didn't watch it for 5 years, it would build up. So it builds up and becomes even greater in your mind. And then maybe when you actually watch it again, it's not so great. But it's sort of, that memory you have it is always just of it being so amazing and the best thing ever, frankly. And I think that is really a lot of the early Doctor Who, well, not early Doctor Who, the early new Doctor Who, that's some of the really strong sort of memories to have, and that really gives that sort of nostalgia and that really just positive feeling about the Russell T Davies era in general, to be honest. I mean, it does help in terms of keeping my interest longer term that I prefer the Moffat era sort of story-wise. So otherwise, for some people, that would have dropped off. If they love the RTD era, they've got the nostalgia of that, but then didn't really like Moffat era, there's nothing really keeping them going. Whereas, although I prefer the Moffat era, you've got the nostalgia of the RTD era as well to be able to sort of keep that enjoyable. Because I don't get nostalgia from the Moffat era at all, to be quite honest with you. Even Series 5, as much as it's a brilliant series, I don't really have any sort of nostalgia or warm sort of positive feelings towards it as much as the episodes are great. I really enjoy the episodes, but just because of the episodes, not because of a feeling around them or anything that you kind of get with some of the really old stuff. Whereas most of the RTD era, I have that sort of feeling about it, and it's just it's a really interesting sort of idea and sort of concept with this nostalgia and everything, and just something interesting to think about. And well, before I ramble on too much, I think I'll pretty much wrap this up with this video now. I think I'll just say how fantastic it is that New Who's been running 12 years now. All those years ago it started off and it's still going fairly strong today. Clearly it's not quite as strong as it was in 2005, 2006, but it is still a brilliant show. We've got at least sort of this series, probably at least 2 more with Chris Chibnall pretty much guaranteed, so I think there's a very good chance Doctor Who will at least make it to 2020 and therefore 15 years of New Who, at least, I would say, unless Chris Chibnall is a complete flop, which I don't think he will be. I think it'll be fantastic. But it's just brilliant to see such a show like this. So many shows die so much quicker than this, so it's amazing and shows how such a magical show it is, and how many people sort of love it, and how it can just become sort of a favourite for so many people, that it's going on so strong after so many years. So few shows are able to do that, particularly even in the longer term, for them 53.5 years. It's been going and it's still going strong. It's remarkable, it really is. And well, I'll end it there now. I think I've said all I have about my early memories and everything. But I would love to hear your memories. What are your first memories of watching Doctor Who, whether it be Classic Who or New Who, or where you were when you first watched Rose, if you watched Doctor Who before that or anything, and what were your sort of feelings? Because obviously I had no expectations. I was too young for it anyway, but I had no real thoughts or previous experience of Doctor Who before Rose. So I'd love to hear if any slightly older people than me who watched maybe Classic Who or were born in the wilderness years and watched some of it beforehand, what were your sort of thoughts and expectations going into Rose, and did it live up to what you were expecting, what you were hoping for? I'd love to hear your sort of thoughts on that for those people in a different situation to me who sort of been watching Doctor Who for a fair bit before that. I'd love to hear that. And for anybody else like me who's watched it from Rose, or anybody who's joined even more recently, I'd love to hear what are your first episodes. What were the things that really brought you into Doctor Who to love Doctor Who? I'd love to hear that. And well, that's it for this video. Hope you've enjoyed it, my early thoughts on Doctor Who, on my very first episodes. I hope you enjoyed hearing all that. So remember to like the video, subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. Goodbye.